Yeah, we back. Black men must understand there are no permanent allies or permanent enemies in politics. There are only permanent interests. Now, let's get into it. What inspired this video? The other day, I uploaded a video entitled Mali Bans French NGOs, French Military, French Media, and French Ambassadors, right? And in the comment section, somebody came in and said, the Western countries are moving out and the Russians are moving in. What is the difference? Now, first of all, number one, the Western countries are not moving out. The Western countries have been told to get the fuck out. You know what I mean? That's what we have to understand, right? We always discuss politics of African nations, black nations, Caribbean nations, as if the black men or women that control these nations have no agency, have no power in negotiations, can't wake up at any given day during the week and say, you know what, we are no longer going to do things the way we've been doing it for the past 150 years. We're going to go in a different direction. They have the agency to make those decisions at any time they want as the leader of a sovereign nation. Now, the majority of them are puppets and they do not decide to go a different route, a different direction. They stick with the tried and true because it is what it is. It's what they grew up on. It's what they understand. It's the easiest way. It's the path of least resistance. It's the easiest path to comfort, wealth, and prosperity for their family on an individual level. They get to travel to Europe. They get to travel to America, go to the universities, live a comfortable life, have offshore accounts, have bank accounts in Europe, have bank accounts in America, a comfortable life. So the majority of our leaders will sell out for a visa, will sell out to be able to have access to the West. But they have the liberty and they have the agency to wake up at any given moment and go in a different direction politically if they so choose to, if they're willing to absorb the repercussions that may come with that. You might get sanctioned. You might get your visa canceled. Your kids might not be able to go to Harvard and Yale. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, as a leader of a sovereign state, you can make any decision you want. Now, the thing that bothers me with this type of rhetoric is that you only hear this type of nonsense when it is a black nation and a non-black nation doing business, right? For example, if you have two African nations, two black nations, or African or Caribbean nation doing business, nobody is going to say that one nation is colonizing the other. Nobody's going to say that this is a master-slave relationship where one party is dominant and the other party is a sock puppet with no agency or power to rule over their country any way they see fit. For example, look up on the screen. When the head of state of Mali meets up with the head of state of Burkina Faso, nobody says that Burkina Faso is now the master of Mali. Nobody says that, oh, the Burkina Faso is moving in to colonize Mali. Oh, Burkina Faso got a new master in town. They kicked the French out and now Burkina Faso is the new master. Nobody says that. They only say, okay, this is two nations. These are two nations with mutual interests that are expressing friendship and solidarity with each other on the geopolitical stage. Everybody respects their rights as sovereign nations. Nobody disrespects either party and says one party is a sucker for linking up with the other party and the other party is getting ready to dominate. Nobody says that. They see two men coming together, showing a expression of solidarity between two sovereign nations, right? Nobody says that, right? Even when the head of state of Mali goes to meet up with the minister of foreign affairs of Iran, nobody says that the Iranians are moving in, the Iranians are getting ready to colonize, the Iranians are getting ready to take over. Nobody says that. Nobody says, oh, the Iranians are the new master. But, for some reason, when it's the Russians, even when it's the Chinese, all of a sudden it's, oh my God, they're coming to take over, they're coming to colonize, they're coming to plant their flag. At the end of the day, it's up to you as a head of state to negotiate terms that are beneficial for your nation. Now, if you are a sucker and you decide to agree to a deal that doesn't benefit your nation in any way and only benefits the opposing party, well, that's on you. But at the end of the day, we got to stop this nonsense where if a black nation decides to come to certain agreements or do trade or conduct business with a non-black nation, automatically that black nation is seen as having no agency, no sovereignty, no power in negotiations, no leverage, and the non-black party is automatically seen as the new master, the new colonial overlord, the new head honcho in town, when it's just two sovereign nations doing business. Another reason why I hate that talking point is because it is historically inaccurate. For example, if we take the Haitian Revolution, for example, we see that in the early 1790s, Toussaint Louverture aligned himself with Spain. And then once France decided to emancipate the slaves, he linked back up with France. And then he waged war against the British and the Spanish. And then when the French decided that they're going to reinstate slavery, he went back against France and decided to fight against France. And then bought weapons from the British and the Americans, right? And then after he died, Dessalines also bought weapons from the Americans. And Dessalines also came to an agreement with the British to blockade certain French ports during the war and then arrested the general of the French army. And then as we know later on in 1806, when General Henry Christophe came to power and named himself king, we know that Great Britain was his number one trading partner. And also Great Britain and the government of King Henry Christophe, the Kingdom of Haiti, also collaborated on many military operations, mainly against the French, but also to clamp down on the slave trade by capturing certain slave ships, slave vessels, and rescuing captives on board, giving them Haitian citizenship, right? That was a collaboration effort between the Kingdom of Haiti and the British government. But nobody says that Toussaint Louverture was a slave to Spain once he linked up with Spain to fight against the French. Nobody says that he was a slave to the French, because in those times it was understood that there are no permanent allies or enemies in politics. There are only permanent interests, right? So the interests of Toussaint, the interests of Dessalines, the interests of Christophe were only to emancipate their citizens, emancipate the Haitian people, and also to defend the liberty of the Haitian people. So they would align with anybody who was willing to provide any type of resources, any type of intelligence, any type of influence or contribution that can advance their agenda, which is to emancipate and defend the liberty of the Haitian people. And they would align with anybody at that time who was willing to link up with them, whether that be the French, the Spanish, the British, the Americans, whoever it may be. And as we know, even going back to the African continent, when East Africa was the center of trade and commerce, we all know that the Egyptians were doing business with all type of different nations, all type of nations in the Middle East, in Asia, in Europe, etc., etc. We already know when West Africa was the center of trade and commerce, we already know that they were doing business with the Europeans, the Arabs, the Asians, all type of people, man, all type of people. And nobody said that it was a master colonial relationship. These were sovereign nations doing business amongst each other individually. And to go back to the original commenter who said that, what is the difference between the French and the Russians? Well, the French have been holding dominance in the area now known as Mali since the year 1892. And as we can see, Mali has pretty much been going backwards ever since 1892. So that alone is reason to get the French out. Period, point blank. You don't need any other explanation except that. You've been active in this region, holding economic and political dominance since the year 1892, and you've contributed nothing in our advancement. So that alone is reason to pretty much cut all diplomatic and political relations with the government of France. You don't need any other explanation past that. But if I were to give an explanation, I would say that Mali is a sovereign nation and they are free to do business with whoever they want to do business with. In fact, on the screen, I'm going to now attach a whole bunch of different little articles, little tweets from the government of Mali, where it shows the head of state linking up with all type of different nations, leaders from Mauritius, Nigeria, leaders from Iran, leaders from all over, bro, leaders from Niger, leaders from Burkina Faso, leaders from Senegal. I'm going to put all those on the screen, as you can see. And nobody says that any of these nations are coming in to colonize Mali, to take over Mali, to be the new overlord of Mali. Everyone says that these are two sovereign nations doing business, expressing feelings of solidarity and friendship between the two. But for some reason, when it's Russia, now all of a sudden it's, oh my God, the colonial overlords, they come in, the colonial overlords about to be in the bushes, assaulting the African women, like what the French did. What the French did is not comparable to any other nation in the region of Mali. The French came through, colonized the region. They came through, created a bunch of mixed race seeds, assaulted the women, assassinated the inhabitants. Like, come on, man. Are we really comparing the French invaders that have been active in the region since the 1890s to the Russians? Are we really going to compare the two? There really is no comparison when we think of the amount of wealth that France has extracted from not only Mali, but from the black race as a whole. In my opinion, that alone is enough reason to get the French out of Mali. You don't need any other reason past that. You don't need any other reason past that. And centuries ago, black men understood these concepts. There are no permanent allies and enemies in politics. There are only permanent interests. So if next year, the Russians and the Iranians and the Senegalese and the Burkina Faso government is no longer in alignment with the interests of Mali, guess what? They can decide to go in a different direction and no longer do business and no longer maintain diplomatic relations with those countries, because they are a sovereign nation and they can do that. Similar to back in the 19th century. 1 minute the Americans were cool with the British, then afterwards they were cool with the French and they hate the British. And then after that they were going to war with the French and then they were down with the British. Back and forth, back and forth. So at the end of the day, like I said, there are no permanent allies or enemies in politics. There are only permanent interests. And as soon as a nation is no longer advancing your interests, no longer beneficial to your interests, you are free to go in a different direction as a sovereign nation. Period, point blank. So in summary, man, we got to stop acting like the world is only North America and Western Europe. As if you go outside that paradigm, then you are automatically looking for a new colonial overlord. How about you're just a sovereign nation and you are free to do business with whoever you want to do business with? Period, point blank. Because when it's two black nations doing business, you guys never say that it's a colonial overlord and a colonized relationship. You guys just say it's two sovereign nations. But once it's a pale skinned person, a pale skinned nation, and a black nation, automatically it goes to colonization 2.0. At the end of the day, it's up to these heads of state to when they're in the negotiation room to make the proper agreements that are beneficial to their country. If they sell out and make a BS agreement, make a BS trade agreement, that's on them. That's not on the other nation coming in to colonize them. If you open the door, if you leave the door unlocked and the enemy walks in, that's not colonization. That's you being a poor administrator. You know what I mean? You're just a poor administrator. That has nothing to do with they coming to colonize and take over. You let them take over. At the end of the day, it's up to you to be a competent leader. So at the end of the day, man, black men got to stop this inferiority complex. If that person that commented is even a black man, but we got to stop this inferiority complex where whenever we do trade or conduct business with a non-black nation, you guys automatically go to, oh, the new colonization. Oh, they coming to colonize, the new colonial overlord. Because it makes it seem that black nations have no agency, they have no sovereignty, or that they have no leverage in negotiations, when we all know that's not the case. So y'all gotta stop, man. Y'all gotta stop the nonsense. Okay, it is what it is. It's 2022. The world is bigger than Western Europe or North America, and sovereign nations are free to do business with whoever is aligned with their interests. So it is what it is. It's your boy Neferkari Desaline back in the building. Yes indeed, and I'm gone. Peace.
Reincarnated, I'm back in original fashion. I left on a horse and came back in that ass, and I left with abundance and came back to famine. We used to be pyramids, now we be rapping. Look how the mighty have fallen. Used to be running, now we be walking. When you be cooning, that's when they applauded. Selling your soul, your sons and your daughter. Gotta come up in this shit, they stuck in the mix. Really, my heart it be breaking. That's why I'm stacking that paper and handle my business. Pass it down in generation. Talking about money and power and building a nation. That's a deadly combination. Never be watching the TV, they pushing agendas, falsifying information. Know they got malice intentions. Step in the room and I'm feeling the tension. Enemy watching, he blocking my vision. Pay for the check cause I need my redemption. Building my kingdom, I need it protected. Ready for war like a young Money Congo. Never decided the team is the motto. Up in the crib and I'm whipping up waffles. Up in the crib and I'm smoking gelato. I'm chilling, I'm taking my pain and make it ambition. I'm blessed by the gods, but I ain't religious. I came for the power, they came for the bitch. They making no hourly wage, I got business. This shit is an art and they could never be taught. Selling my soul, I can never be bought. Play with my money, I see you ain't caught. Run to the check and I do it for sport. Babylon falling, I go to the source. Packing my luggage and go overseas. Shorty be with me and she so elite. Shorty be chocolate, I'm calling her Hershey. Secret intelligence probably gon' murk me. Don't fuck with brands cause nigga I'm Haitian. Say the wrong shit and you're smacking their faces.